Guys, so I have with me here today Stephen Dunn, Pilates master. And Stephen's going to talk to us a little bit about, what Pilates is and how it can benefit moms when they're pregnant and even after. So take it away, Stephen.
All right. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here today and have a chance to speak with your audience. So, Pilates has been something that's been a real game changer for me as a clinician and me, my wife, as a learning Pilates before we had kids, and then how we saw Pilates help her through the delivery, through the postpartum process. So we've seen Pilates when we didn't have children. We've seen Pilates we had children. We've seen Pilates in our business. We've seen Pilates in our life, and we've really seen it become part of a lifestyle that is way more than just an exercise and way more than just trying to look good. It's about looking good and learning to move correctly and learning to move with the proper awareness. And so we find that Pilates has just been a game changer for us. We've been involved in the Pilates world since about 2002 and initiated into my practice immediately way back then. And it's just been a big part of it. So I'm very passionate about it. It's been something that's set me aside from the rest of my competition, where I've always been kind of doing a different thing. And Pilates is something that I always say to people, more people in the general population know what Pilates is than they do know what physical therapy is. And so it's a really interesting thing to market, because people know more about it than my actual field that I spent a lot more money to get trained to be a PT. Spent a lot less money to become a Pilates instructor, but yet the general population tends to know more about Pilates than they do about physical therapy. So it's been an interesting process, an interesting journey, that's for sure.
And there for a bit in the early 2000s, it was a huge craze. I remember I went to PT school in New York, and I became certified to teach Pilates, just the mat programs. And it was huge. I mean, and the thing that I loved about it was, there's no impact. And so I had, from the very young, and no kids, whatever, to like the old ladies, and especially that lunchtime crowd, that was huge, because you'd have a lot of older women, and they'd come in and they were all about their Pilates, and they'll tell their friends, I've got my Pilates class at noon tomorrow, you come? And it's like, we do Pilates and we go have lunch. So that was the thing. And then I moved to Atlanta, and I live kind of in the suburbs. So in the city, there's a big concentration of Pilates. I mean, it's way more known there. You move out to the suburbs and it's not as known here. So what are a few of the things that, I know with Pilates, we talk a lot about breathing, we talk a lot about posture. Tell me a little bit about how you feel like that's helpful, especially for this pregnancy and postnatal population.
Yeah, well, one of the best things about it, in most cases when you're pregnant, you can do Pilates through the very end. Unless there's complications and your doctors put you on bed rest or told you, there might be some limitations on laying on your back for a certain amount of time or whatever. But most of the people that we see that are pregnant, they can do it up to sometimes within to the week of pregnancy. Sometimes it's a month before, the week of delivery, excuse me. Sometimes it's a month before the delivery that they have to stop, but they can do it all the way through the process in many cases. And with as soon as the delivery is done, the pelvic floor re-education, the breathing, the laying in the bed when you're like recovering, starting to use your transverse, starting to just connect. You know how to connect when if you haven't gone through that experience and you've of learning Pilates and learning to be mindful. I think, again, I've never had a baby, but I can only imagine in there after having a baby, how that would feel on your body. I've been treating people for 20 years. And so it gives people some empowerment to do something on their own when no one's in the room, when it's just them, and they can connect with their body and start to take some ownership of their body at a time when they're pretty vulnerable.
And I have found that in a lot of the clients that I see too. A lot of them, if they've told me that they've participated in Pilates, I tend to find that those usually are the ones that have an easier time reconnecting their posture usually is better postpartum. They're not kind of just hanging out on their ligaments with like, still that lordosis or that arching in the back that they would have when they were pregnant. And they know how to breathe, which somehow or another we kind of forget, to do along the way. And they really know how to breathe. So they've already kind of figured out how to start reintegrating their pelvic floor, their breath, and all that type of stuff. So transitioning them either through fitness, and sometimes they may have like issues, but usually transitioning them back to where they were doesn't seem to be as difficult as it is with some of the other populations.
Correct. It's a quicker recovery because of the mindfulness that's already in place.
Yeah.
And I always say, if I could bottle mindfulness and give that away, sell that, man, it would be awesome. But it takes people going through this process to understand mindfulness. And some people it takes months and months and months, and some people learn it pretty quick. And so really it depends, on how long you've been in the system and how well you understand it.
Right.
Because I'm at a point where, like, I learned all this a long, long, long time ago. And I learned it in my body, and it's in my body. And now when I treat patients, you talk about posture. I used to slouch over when I did manual therapy on people like this all day and wondered why by Friday my neck hurt. Well, Pilates taught me to stand up straight, sit up straight while I was doing my job or doing whatever I was doing. So it translated into this idea of, like, if I can do this in this scenario all day, I'm thinking and mindful of what my posture is all day. I don't necessarily need to go do Pilates 5 times a week. I might not do it as much as I need to do it for some time, but it's in my mind, and I'm performing the stabilization, the breathing while I do my job all day. Therefore, it becomes something that's a part of my life. It's not something that I just go do Pilates every once in a while when I need to feel better or feel more flexible or connect with my core. It's taught me to be connected all the time.
Yeah.
And that connection all the time is what protects me with doing my job and doing the things that I love to do, because I used to have none of that awareness at all. I was just like I would just collapse into gravity. So once my posture changed, and that was this passion of, this is what changed my posture, this is what has taught me to breathe, this is what allowed me to stand up straight, I'm going to teach it to you. And like you said, you can be a young kid, you can be an adult, you can be someone elderly in the geriatric population and get a ton out of it. It doesn't matter where you come in, and we can modify it to whatever your needs are. So I've worked with professional athletes, and I've worked with people in wheelchairs on the same dang Pilates equipment, And so that's something that I love about it, and why I'm so passionate about it, because again, it changed my life in a lifestyle way, not just you got to do Pilates 5 times, 3 times a week, blah, 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 blah. It just became something that sank in. And I should do it more. I'm not going to lie. But it's
practice what you preach.
But it's in my brain, and it's in my body.
Yeah.
Once that happens, then you have the ability you're empowered as a client. You empower your client to be able to protect themselves, help themselves.
Right.
So that's the beauty of it. And we always talk about the breathing is kind of like the music, like no one's going to go dance without music. We really shouldn't be exercising without breathing. But most exercise we do today encourages us to hold our breath, or there's really no mindfulness about it. So if you can learn a little Pilates, you can apply it to your walking and pushing the double bob stroller with your kids. You can apply it to a yoga practice. You can apply it to doing your functional fitness training, your squats and lunges, which if you apply your pelvic floor work to that, it's going to be much more beneficial than if you don't. And if you're not aware of that, you won't apply that. So there's the beauty of Pilates, is it can be put into day-to-day life. It can put into other recreation. It can put into exercise. For me, I play softball. And so whenever the ball's being thrown in the air to me, I'm standing there with my bat. I take a big inhale. And as soon as I swing, I take a huge exhale. And it's all about being connected with my breath and tightening my core as I hit the ball. And that makes me a better softball player at 45 than I was at 18, because I didn't know that at 18. Even though I was stronger and way more, I was a way better athlete at 18, but I didn't have anything up here on mindfulness at all.
Right.
And I would do anything to go back to 14 and know what I know now, and be able to go through high school sports with awareness.
Oh my God, wouldn't we be so much better? We'd be so much better.
I miss that boat, and it really is frustrating because I'm trying to teach my kids, and they're not at an age where they're quite ready to take it on yet. I'm like, God, boys, it'll help you so much if you just do this. I'm a resource for you. Come on up here and let me work you out. But it's hard. My kids, it's like they'll work out for another instructor for me, but they won't work out for me very well. It's
Uh-oh.
how that works. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much. I feel like we're definitely going to need to do a part 2, because one of the things that I want to talk to patients about, and one of the things that people often talk about, is when they go to Pilates, they hear, bring your navel to your spine. And with that, most people tend to suck in and not breathe. And I'm like, no. Being aware of the muscles and drawing them in and activating them is totally different than just sucking in. Because when you activate, you can still breathe. And so for part 2 of our meetup, we'll definitely go ahead and work on cueing the patient and just having people be more aware. So guys, this was a teaser. And we will definitely be back with a lot more. But how can people find you if they need you?
Oh, thanks for that's a great question. Online on Facebook, Stephen Dunn, it's with a PH. I have a Facebook group that's geared towards physical therapists interested in Pilates. That's Pilates for PTs. If you do the @ with Pilates for PTs, that is that group, and it's actually a page, so people can go like the page. It's not a group that you have to sign up for. You just or ask permission for. You just go like the page, and then that's a place where I give lots of information and value on implementing a Pilates program into your PT practice. I do some Facebook Lives there, and people can engage with me, ask questions there, and a lot of times the answer will come in a video. It may not come in the answer on the comments, but typically that'll become the next Facebook Live that I do. And so that's a good place to reach out, to engage, to ask questions. That's kind of more business oriented, but at the same time, it's also, I love talking clinical because I'm really trying to teach people how to get into this world and create new wellness streams or revenue streams with a wellness program. But the clinical stuff is very exciting to me too, because that's what I've really been doing for a long time. So I would love to talk. I can talk business about this with you, or we can talk clinical stuff with you as well, because it's really fun. And I can bring my wife on with me as well. Because she runs our whole Pilates program, and as a woman who has had a lot of core strength going through the delivery, going through pregnancy, having diastasis after our second big baby, and the process that went on through that. Here she is right here. This is Cheryl.
Hey! So is it like this whole in Texas, everything has to like go big or go home? Is that why the babies were big?
They were huge.
Well, the first one was pretty normal size, but the second one was more like me. I'm like 6'2.5", 250. So
and I'm on my tiptoes right here.
And I'm slouching.
He's slouching. I'm like, I love it.
I love it. I love her. I love her. You did good.
Oh, I did real good. I start that every morning. Every morning, my gratitude list. She's number 1 on that list. So.
Amen.
I'm not doing good.
Oh man.
Because she went through it, and again, I know her story, but it's a different story when she did it versus me hearing it and listening to it. So
yeah,
it'd be awesome to talk about the diastasis, because I see a lot of diastasis.
Yeah.
I see 50-year-old men and above who no one's ever told them they have it. And that's a population that I've just been noticing it very, very, very frequently.
In kids too, because I do pediatrics as well, and in kids you'll see it, and it's normal up until about age 2, but it doesn't close. And so you even may find some. I mean, if they're older kids, they shouldn't have it, but you might even find some youth athletes, not a high population, but they have it, and they're not really managing that system and those pressures well, and it really needs to be addressed.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I hadn't seen that with the kids I treat. Most of the kids I treat are 14, 15, high school age. That I certainly haven't noticed that, and I think it would have been something that pops out because it's so easy to see in the men.
Yeah.
Once you start teaching them to breathe properly and their belly button is moving properly up and down, we can really see that bulge when it pops out on that exhale if they're doing it incorrectly. So I just find that a lot more frequent with men. And I've worked with some football players that are like old, like retired football players, and I found it that, and almost all of those guys have had it as well. So it's really interesting. So yeah. Well, thanks for your time, and
Thank you guys.
We'll set something up and do round 2, and we'll do a joint thing with her and I together, and we'll keep the conversation going.
Absolutely. You guys have an awesome day.
All right. Take care. Bye now.
All right. Bye.